I'm Lynn Onstot with the City of Joplin, and I welcome you to the Joplin Insider Show. It's designed to give you current news and views about Joplin. Today, my guest is Dan Pekarek. Dan's the director of the Joplin Health Department and also serves as the chairman of the Four States Clean Air Alliance. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Thanks for coming out here today.
Happy to be here.
Yep. Well, today we're going to talk about the Clean Air Alliance. I would like to have you out here another day for the Health Department, but today we're going to focus on the Clean Air Alliance and the role it has in our community. So, Clean Air Alliance is a fairly new organization, is that right?
It is. We really started working on it about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, and it was really formed in response to some information that we had from the State Department of Natural Resources about a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, where they let us know that the area, the metro area, was on the verge of being in non-compliance or non-attainment for the ground level ozone standard.
Oh.
And so kind of that bit of information kind of caused us to locally to say, hey, we need to start looking at this issue. I also serve on another group called the Environmental Task Force.
Mm-hmm.
That group was formed back in the 1990s in response to the Superfund cleanup, the EPA Superfund cleanup in the area, and has since then stayed in the area working on issues, environmental issues.
Such as this.
Such as this, and so we became aware of this issue and were asked to take a look at it and see if there's something that needed to be done. The Environmental Task Force, we met with the local group called the JATSA, or the Joplin Area Transportation Study Organization.
Okay.
They are the folks that really, I guess you could say, have a lot at stake if the community becomes in a non-attainment for ozone.
Okay.
Because they're the folks that make the decisions and make recommendations about where federal transportation dollars are spent in the area.
Okay.
And ground level ozone is heavily impacted by transportation issues, and so we knew that they had a big vested interest in this issue, and traditionally in other communities, those transportation study organizations tend to be kind of have a lead role in ozone issues.
Okay.
So we knew that, so we went and had a meeting with them. They asked the Environmental Task Force then to take on this issue, and the task force then went ahead and appointed and developed this new Four-State Clean Air Alliance.
Okay. Well, what exactly is the mission for the Alliance? What are they trying to do since it's a new organization?
The main thing initially was to develop a clean air action plan, and that has been done.
Because of this non-attainment possibility.
With the ozone issue, we went ahead and developed what's called a clean air action plan, and that clean air action plan is simply a document. It's a formal document. It's on our website, and it looks at goals in 4 different areas that we could try to work on that could try to bring us back into attainment or keep us from going in non-attainment as far as ground level ozone. We also, within that document, is a large component that has to do with community education, which is, of course, some of what we're doing today.
We're doing today, right?
We monitor the air quality. We actually work on a regular basis during the ozone season, and we watch the DNR air monitor actual data from that, so we can kind of see where we're at. And just really it's about trying to improve the knowledge of the community, both individuals and business, about the issue, what they can do in response to the issue to maybe keep us in attainment. Those are some of the primary things. Okay,
well, let's back up a little. Ground level ozone. Now, that's kind of a term I'm not as familiar with, and maybe some of our viewers are not as well. We know about the ozone above us that protects us.
Right.
But what about the ground level ozone? What does it do?
Well, you're exactly right. We hear about ozone up high being a good thing, and you're right. It protects us from UV radiation from the sun. Ground level ozone is not such a good thing, though. It can have various health effects. It has effects on the environment as far as vegetation. But what happens, ground level ozone is basically a gas. It's formed especially on those very hot, dry summer days that we have around here.
Yes.
When you have a couple of what we call precursors to ozone formation. One is VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, that are being formed by various processes, and we have what are called nitrogen oxides that are also being formed by various processes going on a daily basis. Those two gases, those two things mix together on those really hot summer days, and if you will, it kind of cooks in the environment, and you have ground level ozone formation.
Okay.
That's how it forms.
Does it smell? I mean, do we notice it?
You don't notice it. It's really hard. It's really hard to notice when you really high ozone levels. You can kind of get a smell to it, but those usually form by a different process. But the ground level ozone levels that we're talking about, you don't see it, you don't smell it.
Okay.
It's just there on those really hot, humid days, hot summer days.
But it has health risks, apparently.
It can have some health effects on individuals. Those individuals, especially that are maybe susceptible, more at risk for respiratory, that already have some respiratory disease. Individuals with asthma can make asthma events more often and worse.
Okay.
It maybe has more effects on individuals that they're very young, they're very old. Again, anybody that's got a respiratory disease already, it can cause heaviness to breathing. It can cause some challenges with individuals breathing. Probably affects those individuals that spend a lot of time outside on those days and doing heavy, strenuous things. So, kids playing outside on a hot summer day, individuals working outside in the heat of the day, they can probably be impacted by it more. And then again, it can have effects on the environment as far as it can cause damage to various types of vegetation, crops and such, causes them to be more susceptible to disease.
Oh, now it sounds really very scientific, which, to break it down, it sounds, but apparently there's ways that we're monitoring this, so how does that happen?
Right, there's actually an air monitor that the State Department of Natural Resources put in place in 2009 in our area.
Okay.
There was another monitor that was further north and I guess north and east of Joplin a little ways that was showing that there might be a problem, but frankly it was far enough away they really didn't think it was giving us good enough data. So they placed a new monitor in 2009 right near the area, right near the metro area, just downwind of it. And so that's been capturing, I guess you might say, more reliable data on what's actually occurring in this area on a daily basis since 2009. And we do, as an alliance, we do monitor that information, kind of give us an idea of what's happening.
So what can impact the ozones? You said that transportation's an issue and things like that, and you said we were downwind. So do other environmental factors around us, industries and other cities?
I talked about VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, and then NOx, it was kind of the abbreviation for nitrogen oxides. NOx is largely a function of combustion.
Okay.
So you have anything from the smallest gasoline engine, you're out mowing your yard on a hot summer day, to the car that you drive, to heavy equipment, to large combustion processes equipment in industry, large boilers, all the way to large power plants.
Oh, wow.
So NOx is largely, not completely, but largely a function of combustion engines, or combustion. VOCs are the things that you think about, again, volatile organic compounds. So these are the things like solvents, cleaning chemicals. A lot of it, again, not completely. Some VOCs come from other things, but a lot of VOCs come from solvents and cleaning chemicals, things like that. Gasoline. Okay. When you're pumping your gas on a hot summer day and you see kind of those fumes coming off around that's volatilizing gasoline. That's going into the atmosphere. That's what we don't want to happen.
Okay.
So the NOx and the VOCs are the things, and those kind of are the places that they tend to come from in the environment.
Okay. So, how do we prevent those, and and how are we monitoring, and how do we educate the public about these things?
Well, again, the monitor that we have is north and a little bit north and a little bit east of Joplin. There are other monitors in the area, but that's the one that mostly is capturing what's going on in Joplin.
But right now we're okay. We're just at a precursor to be aware.
Well, we're at a level. The standard right now is 75 parts per billion, and it's measured over a period of time. But it's 75 parts per billion. We've been bumping that 75 parts per billion level now for the last several years. We actually exceeded it a few times in 2011 and 2012.
Those really hot.
The really hot,
yes,
very, very hot, miserable days or summers that we had. And then they've actually dropped back down to 75 parts per billion level in 2013 and 14. We had cooler summers, and so we really believe that frankly the cool temperature probably impacted our levels more than anything else. We do believe, we can't prove this. We think that the tornado, all the effects after the tornado, as far as all the construction equipment that was in town during 2011 and then getting in 2012, we believe that that certainly had an impact on this because, again, there was a lot of large pieces of equipment, a lot of combustion, equipment, engines going in the community during that time. And we suspect that that may have had a contributing factor. It's very hard to prove. But
right, but I can imagine, I mean, it was, like you said, a large percentage of increase of those types of machinery here.
Right.
So, well, I know you said there was an educational component, so that's what we're here today to talk a little bit about, as well as just about ground ozone itself. So what type of things are you doing to educate the public?
Well, the first, I guess, the biggest thing that, and I mentioned the Clean Air Action Plan actually has a goal section that has to do with community education. One of the strategies in that area was the development of a website. Okay. And we have done that, summerair.org.
And I hope we might get that online here, if we can show our viewers that. I don't know if you can call that up yet or not. You can keep talking, but we'll watch for that and see. Oh, there it is. So that's summerair.org. And
we've got several PSAs that are on the website now. Okay. We've got our Clean Air Action Plan is present on that website. We've got other bits of information.
Little tips
about what you can do around the home. Just kind of a
kind
Ozone
of a starting
101
point of education, right. Yeah, because 101 is where most of us need it. Now, those of you in the science field, yes, can understand this, but it takes me a little while to grasp that. So
that's the first. That's really the first. Really, the biggest function from an education standpoint that we really wanted to get done this year was to get the website developed, because it does allow us to get a lot of information out to the public very quickly. We can keep it up to date and such. Another big thing that we did this year was the development of some PSAs. Okay. And those are actually on the website. Okay. They're available on the website.
Well, we might look at those later as we go forward.
Well, the PSAs are something that we've been working on developing. I think we have 3 that are complete now. Okay. And we have assuming we can find funding, we're going to try to do some more, but between now and next summer. We've developed some brochures. Some people like brochures, and we've developed some brochures.
Walk away with, right?
If we're at a health fair, if we're the Chamber Expo, things like that, we can have brochures there for people to pick up and maybe become educated a little bit about the things that they can do. Certainly, we're doing these kind of things, doing speaking engagements. Done several of those already, and envision doing quite a few more as we get closer to the spring and the summer months. Press releases. You name it, anything that has to do with trying to get out and educate the community, those are the kind of things that we're going to be doing.
Facebook?
Facebook.
Yeah,
available.
Facebook's very popular, so yeah, I can imagine. So I know I think Bill's in the control room, and he's got some PSAs that will probably pop up here shortly, but I know they have tips on them. So Bill, if you can find the general one that just runs on ozone itself, I don't know if you have that one queued up. We'll watch for that.
Are you an air breather? Of course you are. I guess you'd like to save money too. Here are 3 easy steps to reduce your energy use, save money, and help the air we breathe. Turn up your thermostat. Even 1 degree can result in significant savings on your energy bills. When it's time to replace your appliances, look for Energy Star. Unplug. Most electronics still use electricity when in standby mode. Follow these easy steps to save money and help repair our summer air. To learn more, visit summerair.org.
Well, that's kind of a catchy little PSA. I mean, it's not like your usual commercial, so I bet it's getting a lot of looks.
Right. I guess they're considered animated, if you will.
Right.
Instead of just having a static, an individual, standing there talking or something. Yeah. We kind of like the look of these. We had worked with a local company that. The
voice sounds familiar. Any ideas? Of
individual that serves on the committee, represents Newton County. Did that for us.
Yes.
Jim Jackson.
Jim Jackson. Yeah. If anybody watched KSN for years, he was there.
Right.
So.
He's been a, and actually that's a good thing to bring up. The 4-State Clean Air Alliance has a very broad representation. It's not just health people, for instance.
Or scientists.
Right. I mean, it's people that we've got representation from the counties, from all the counties affected, county government, city government, small city, big city, bigger city.
These areas, these municipalities will be affected.
Yes, it's not just a Joplin problem.
Right.
And we can discuss that. It's certainly a regional issue, but again, city governments, county governments, state and local, state and federal government as well, EPA, DNR, local, small business, big business, industry, education, healthcare.
Again,
They're all
transportation.
transportation. Those folks are all represented on this four-state clean air
Because everyone
alliance.
will typically be impacted. What would happen if we go up past 75
Right.
parts per billion?
Parts per billion.
What happens?
Well, things can happen to a community. You know, right now we're still in attainment. What's considered in attainment with the standard. If we become a community that is in non-attainment, if you have enough exceedances of that standard for a long enough period of time,
For a long period, it's not like just one reading.
It's going to be over a 3-year period, and they look
Okay.
at they look at that data over a 3-year period. Then you can become a non-attainment community. If you are a non-attainment community, then the federal government can mandate certain things upon you. You know, right now we're trying to do this preemptively, if you will, proactively,
Right.
to try to head off a non-attainment status. You know, for various reasons. There's health reasons, obviously. We talked about those,
Sure.
or we can talk about those reasons. You know, reasons, the harm to the environment as far as vegetation. But there's also reasons from a community standpoint. You know, if we have a community you have a community that's in non-attainment and then a community that's in attainment, and you're trying to attract business to that community, and the business is saying, well, gosh, this one's in attainment, this one's not in attainment. I may have to do more things for the
Right.
one, you know, for the one that's non-attainment.
Different regulations are going to cause me to
So,
make extra efforts.
it can affect business. It can affect those transportation dollars that come into through the JATSO organization that I was mentioning earlier. So there's a lot of reasons for us to try to stay ahead of this and try to get ahead of it and try to keep the community in attainment.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right path, at least educating people about it, because again, since we can't see it, we can't smell it, you know, it's nothing, you know, it's not tangible.
Right.
It is kind of hard to grasp the whole idea of it.
It is. I mean, you know, it's when you think about things like this, you know, pollution type things that affect the community. Sometimes it's easy to see water pollution.
Right.
You know, you can look at a stream and you can kind of tell if there's a water pollution issue going on. You know, you can see garbage blowing down the street, or people throwing things out in garbage in the fields, you know, up near the highways. But it is hard to see. I mean, you don't see ozone, ground level ozone like this. It is kind of hard for people to grasp of. And you know, when you think of air pollution, you think of major metropolitan areas. You don't think of Joplin, Missouri.
No.
And so I think it's hard for people to understand. Gosh, you know, Joplin, Missouri, we have an ozone issue, and so. It is, I think, something that's a challenge for us to try to get people's attention.
And there's simple things they can do.
There are a lot of simple things that they can do. Largely, you know, there's the ozone level, the ground level ozone level in this country has dramatically dropped over about the last 20 years.
Okay.
That's largely due to, you know, federal regulations on car emissions, you know, more efficient cars, less polluting engines, those kinds of things. Also the regulations on big industry and things like that. Those things have already occurred and continue to occur. Those continue to drop the ground level ozone level.
Okay.
But there are a lot of things that we can do as individuals, that individual homeowners can do, businesses can do, to help reduce this. And those are important. Individually, you think, what is that going to help?
Yeah,
well,
one
but cumulatively, 20,000 people doing it, it makes a difference. So,
Exactly.
you know, when you fill up your car with gas, do it first thing in the morning or later in the evening, not during the heat of the day. Again, you see that fume volatilizing into the atmosphere.
It's not the heat. Yeah, like you
right?
said, it's not hot.
Mow your yard first thing in the morning or later in the evening. Don't do it during the middle of the day.
Because that engine is running.
That engine is running, and it's putting those constituents out into those precursors to ozone out into the atmosphere during the heat of the day, and it's cooking and it's becoming ground level ozone.
Okay.
You know, some of the things on the PSA turn the thermostat up a degree or two, so we're not having to generate
Which
as much
also
power.
helps your bills.
And it helps bill. Interestingly
Your
enough, most
pocketbook.
everything we're asking people to do saves you money.
Oh.
So
Well, that's
you
even
know,
better.
it's kind of a win-win. Not only it saves you money, but by the way, it's also helping the
Sure.
environment and helping
Sure.
the community.
Well, it mentioned something, you know, unplug your appliances. That's something that we try to do. I mean, how many of us have electronic gadgets now, whether it be a phone or an iPad or whatever it is, computer, laptops? Unplug them if you're not using
Right,
them.
because even though they're sitting there off, if you will, or not being used at the time, they still, as we're being told, they still utilize a little bit of electricity.
And like you said, cumulatively, this can make a big impact.
If you have 18,000 households in the city alone, and you've got everybody that's got TVs plugged in and
Right.
you know, chargers for this and that and the other, all those things add up to make the power have to be, you know, more power have to be generated, which can then lead to more issues as far as ozone.
I want to go back to lawn mowing. I haven't seen the mowers for a long time, but do they still make the push mowers that you probably have seen?
Non-power push.
The
human-powered push mowers.
Right, human-powered.
They still make them. I've not used one for quite a few years
Me
as
either,
my yard has gotten larger.
I have used one in my day. I'm
right.
dating myself, but I have. And
I've used one, but
and if they're sharp, they're not hard to use at all, really.
And actually, I do recall seeing a gentleman using one. It was one of the. I don't remember what kind of it's a house that has a very small yard, and I can't think of what the name for those are, but I saw a gentleman using one of those just last summer recently, driving down the street, and he was out pushing it in his front yard. Very small yard.
Yeah, makes sense.
Easy to maintain.
Yeah, and get exercise too. So, well, this all sounds fairly simple. Since ozone is in the heat, is there a certain time of year that we need to be more prudent about things?
Right. The season for ozone in this part of the world, in this part of the country, is April to October.
Okay.
That's when the temperatures start rising.
Sure.
You get some hot days. Obviously, the most time of concern is those really hot, dry days in the middle of summer.
You shouldn't be out mowing your yard in the middle of the day anyway.
It probably would help if you, from a health perspective, if you didn't.
Yeah.
But
sometimes that's when people have time. Yeah.
But even beyond mowing yards, I mean, planning your trips around town. Instead of going from here to there and then over to here and back, try to plan things out and think
what about
about
idle time? When
idling is very important. One of the goal areas in our plan has to do with transportation projects, and people think, well, gosh, you mean you're actually supporting transportation projects? That would seem to be counterproductive to ozone formation. But in actuality, I mean, we're looking at those kind of projects that reduce idling time, that improve the efficiency of transportation in the community. The roundabouts, if you don't have the cars stopped idling at a stoplight for multiple minutes at a time, the flow is better. Things are moving.
Another reason to like roundabouts.
I
like the roundabouts.
Okay.
Some people don't, but I like them.
I was talking to somebody recently. The west here in Joplin, the West 26th Street project that just opened. We were supportive of that type of a project because it has sidewalks so people can walk instead of driving. It has bike paths on both sides so people can ride bikes instead of driving. It has a center turn lane so that if you need to make a left turn, you can get into the left turn lane. You're not stopping and backing up traffic, causing people to sit there and idle. So even though those are projects that, are encouraging people, in a way to drive, it's causing driving to be more efficient, and it causes less idle time. So we're supportive of those kind of projects as well. We certainly are supportive of things like people using the public transportation,
right? The trolley and
riding the bikes, walking. Those are all those kind of things are all very much supported by this alliance. But we're also supportive of those projects that cause less idling time and more efficient traffic flow.
Okay, well that makes sense. So, well I know obviously with the recovery area, there's a lot of projects going forward, and 20th Street corridor is the topic of conversation for the most part, and they're looking at different ways to do that. So I would imagine they're going to be considering these types of effects.
Certainly, we hope so, and given the opportunity to comment on those kind of projects, that would be something that the Alliance will provide advocacy for those kind of projects.
Yes.
We want to see sidewalks. We want to see bike lanes. We want to see efficient. Well-flowing traffic patterns.
And you mentioned transportation's represented on the Alliance, so they carry the message back to the Joplin area transportation.
We have membership from the Missouri Department of Transportation, city membership, various cities, counties. So we have, JATSO, the transportation organization. We have their membership as well on this group.
Well, and the gentleman that was on the the little cartoon character. I've seen him on a billboard, haven't I? Has
we
he
have
appeared?
some billboards that have been up this last summer.
Okay.
The same
Style.
Style of message is being used on billboards. You'll see it in other things, like I say, our brochures and such. You'll see that same kind of a message that's been developed. That education campaign. You'll see that throughout the next year as well, in various types of modes.
Well, so as we move forward, into the warmer months, you guys are going to be gearing up and probably out speaking to the community a little bit more at different events.
These kind of events like this we can do now. They can be taped and they can be shown time and time again. But yeah, absolutely. As we get into the spring and summer months, you'll see myself or other individuals from the Alliance out at speaking at events. I've already done several and plan on doing quite a few more as we get into the spring and summer months. Any kind of an organization that would like us to come and talk about what's going on, and why we're doing it. We'd be more than happy to do that if we can get it in the schedule. We'd
And for
certainly
the
like to
viewers
do
that are listening and may be interested in ground level ozone and want to know more, both Dan and I work at the City of Joplin, so you can contact the city and ask for either one of us, and we can get you plugged in and to the right person. Dan is typically one of the persons that goes out and speaks.
Right.
And have you wrangled anybody else to go out with you yet?
Not yet, but I'm working on that. One of the things we'd like to do as people, as we get a little bit further in the development of the education campaign, is kind of develop a speakers bureau. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of us from the Alliance that are comfortable with being able to carry this message out into the public.
I'll be honest, it is somewhat of a complex message, but once you get into it and you break it down, it makes much more sense. For, to begin to hear about volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides, some people will glaze over, maybe flip the channel. I hope they didn't, but I'm really glad that you are breaking it down for us. So any other information that you want to provide and make sure that we're paying attention as we move into the summer months?
Well, one thing you may be hearing about, the EPA is actually proposing some new standards for ozone, which are lower, substantially lower.
So that might hurt us.
That could be problematic for really just about any community.
Right, yeah.
Right now, the level is 75 parts per billion. The EPA has proposed a standard somewhere in the range of 60 to 70 parts per billion.
Oh my!
And since we've been bumping up against the 75 parts per billion level now for the last few years, that would obviously put us out of attainment. But it would also, if there's any, I guess, strength in numbers, there would be a lot of communities that would be out of attainment overnight.
So the message would get very strong, very loud.
So I think it just shows that there's even more of a reason for us to want to be proactive. Some of this we've talked, and you've heard us talk about this in some of the Alliance meetings. Some of this, we can control some of these things. These things that we can do in our own individual households, using solvents properly according to instructions around the house or in your business, whatever, keeping lids tightly capped. Don't let them, stay open where they're volatilizing into the environment, and just don't spill things and, what have you, out in the carport, out in the driveway. There's some things like that we can control. Gassing in the morning, keeping the car tuned up really well so so it's efficiently operating, and all those things we can do ourselves. It's tips that we have on our website. There's some things we can't control. There's something that's in the ozone business is a term called transport, and that has to do with, this is an air issue again, and so whatever is going on upwind of us is blowing down to us. Okay. And so that's a particular interest to our group. We're right on I-44. We're right on I-49. All of that vehicle traffic is contributing to our ozone level. I mean, it's just vehicles that are passing through, but it still is contributing to our ozone level. And even those areas that are outside of the metro area, the Jasper and Newton County area, are contributing. So that's one of the reasons our group, the Alliance, we're actually reaching out to areas south of us and areas southwest and west of us.
I think that's very smart.
To try to get those areas because whatever's happening in Ottawa County, Oklahoma, and whatever's happening in McDonald County, Missouri, and Benton County, Arkansas, and Cherokee County, Kansas, that's all coming our way on any given hot summer day. That's all blowing our way. And so and eventually it's going to mix in the atmosphere here, and it's going to end up on our monitor. So we're reaching out to those other areas. That's going to become even more important if we do get a new standard that even lowers things more. So again, we have to do all the little things that we can do locally to try to reduce what we can control. We can't control what's going to occur with transport, what's blowing our way. We can't control the wind. So we have to do what we can locally to try to control this issue.
And educate those around us.
Try to get them to do the things that they can.
To do the same things in their community, so we all are working on the same goal.
Right. I mean, because you can literally look at some of the national monitor data, and you can just see right up I-44, Tulsa metro area, Oklahoma City, down to Dallas, the high levels, and that's on a hot summer day. That's coming our way.
Yeah. Well, we do need to be paying attention. We need to get Dallas in alignment. That's it.
You do that.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Dan. I've learned a lot about ground level ozone. I do sit on the Alliance, but I'll be honest, some days I take a lot more notes than others, and so this was really good to break it down for me. I hope this was helpful to our viewers who are listening today. If you have any questions, again, please contact us at the City of Joplin. And again, I'm Lynn Onstot for Joplin Insider. Thank you.